for whatever reason, people tend to pay more attention and listen more closely when you bring in an expert from outside. So I don't take it personally that you guys don't tend to listen to me when I stand up here. But I do think that you'll enjoy this. This morning's program is broken out into kind of two sections. There's going to be a 30-minute sort of talk at you piece about presentations, and then there's going to be about an hour of working session, breaking into working groups, and then coming back to actually do a little bit of the presentation. So that's the way that'll work out. And just the reason that we decided to do this is because I don't know about the rest of you, but I've sat through many presentations over the years, whether they be at conferences, presentations right in this room, and the vast majority of them are not all that good in terms of the delivery and making sure that people get some things to take away. And so the idea here this morning is to maybe open up your eyes a little bit, show you that there are other ways to do things. Probably first and foremost to convince you, I hope, that PowerPoint and all of its bullets are not the do-all, end-all way to get people's attention and convince them of what you're trying to convince them. And remember that every presentation, virtually every presentation, is an attempt to persuade people to do something. Whether it's to go with your program, hire Trihydro, implement whatever it is you want them to implement. 9 times out of 10, I think you're trying to persuade people. And so, when in order to do that, you can't be sort of run-of-the-mill. You've got to do something to get people thinking and have them paying attention. So, without taking up any more time, please pay attention.
Thank you, guys. I'm David Ledwin. I believe I know everyone here, almost, just about. So some of you might be asking what I'm doing up here. The technical writer. I'm supposed to be focused on the page. And I was trying to answer that question myself the past couple days. And I think that over the past 3 years, I've had an opportunity to present a lot. I've had an opportunity to see a lot of presentations come across my desk in the written form to get edited. And for myself, I know that I've had to overcome a tremendous amount of fear, which I know plays a huge role in many of our lives as we stand up here and try to present. So for me, it's been about trying to overcome a fear. And as I practiced over the years, and kind of faced that fear, I've overcome a lot of those anxieties that I felt 3 years ago. There were nights when I couldn't sleep before presentations. I'm sure many of us have gone through that as well. So that's why I'm here, helping out with the presentation. But what I'd like to do first is health and safety moment. We like to start each presentation off with a health and safety moment. And I'm going to show you a slide, an image. So does anyone want to say what this might be from? Chemical burn at a refinery. The employee was wearing eye protection. It wasn't the right eye protection. Imagine having to go home and tell your family that you were too distracted, you were too lazy to go grab the correct eye protection. And each day you have to look into the mirror, and this is what your eye looks like. I don't think any of us would want to do that. So that's the health and safety moment for today.
Very effective.
8 o'clock in the morning, feel free to grab your bagels now. Okay, so who is this man standing next to me? This is Josh Dorrell. Shannon McMullen saw Josh speak a little over a year ago. Studied a little over a year ago. And Josh is the Director of Business Development over at IDES. It's a plastic database management company. Along with doing that, he teaches a sales classes at the University of Wyoming for undergraduate business students. And he spent some of his formative years in Rawlins, Wyoming, and was trained as a mechanical engineer here at UW. He's been working for IDES now for what, 15 years? About 15 years. So Josh is going to speak for a little while, and after that we'll have an opportunity to break out and do some workshop sessions. Take it away, Josh.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Keith. And really thank everybody for having me. And we are talking about presentations today. And presentations are such a great opportunity to educate people, maybe grow some out a little bit. And as Keith mentioned, persuade people. They're also a great opportunity for us to put our best foot forward, right? It's that opportunity to set ourselves apart and have people choose us over another job candidate, over another company, our idea over another one. It's a great opportunity. And whenever I'm getting ready for a presentation, I always think about great speeches of the past. And I always think to myself, what about a speech like this? The I Have a Dream speech. Wow, pretty persuasive, pretty memorable. Most of us weren't alive at this time, but we know this speech, right? We've heard about it. We've heard the speech. We know what it was about. This particular picture probably evokes a little emotion, right? Probably makes you think of something that was kind of cool, something that was big, impactful. Now, here's my question to you. If I were to ask you all, or not you, but maybe your colleagues, to give a presentation about this speech or about the civil rights movement, what would you do? What would you see? I'm guessing it's going to look something like this, right? And it's probably going to be delivered kind of like this, with a shaky pointer, and I have a dream, right? Because you can't read, but I'm going to read for you. A dream deeply rooted in the American dream. There will be 3 bullets. There just will be, all right? There's probably going to be a cool little slide thing down here, maybe with a logo or 2. And actually, this will probably take up a lot less of the slide. There'll be a lot more corporate imagery. Thanks, marketing, right? I'm in marketing, so I can say that. Okay? So this is what it looks like when we give a presentation. How impactful is that compared to the first image? How impactful are those 3 bullets versus David's eyeball image? Not that impactful, right? Not that memorable. Okay? So, why is this? What happened? What happened along the way? Imagine if PowerPoint had been around during the civil rights movement. Things might be a little different. Okay? Right? A projector on the Washington Monument and some bullet points, we're not going to get it done. So, why is that? Who do we blame? Why not? Right? Hey, he's got enough money to handle a little bit of ridicule. Right? He can deal with it. And in some ways, yeah, we'll blame Microsoft. But we really need to blame ourselves, right? All Billy G did was give us a tool to use. Now granted, he made it really easy to make a bad PowerPoint slide. You open it up, this is what you get. Hey, click to add a title. I can click. I can even type a little bit. Right? Let me title my slide. I have a dream. Click right here, a bullet magically appears. It is so easy. Like, man, this is awesome. This presentation is gonna rock. 20 bullets a slide, 25 slides or so. This thing is awesome. Right? So, we'll blame them a little bit. They made it so easy to make bad presentations. We'll blame them, okay? For a little bit. But then we gotta look at ourselves and say, how can I be better? What can I do to make my presentations rock? What can I do to make my presentations more memorable? How will I persuade people with 3 bullet points per slide? I might not, okay? And so what I'd like to do today is take a look at 3 questions you need to ask and look at 7 myths that we need to bust, okay? So there are 3 questions that are really important whenever you're starting out a presentation or whenever you're gonna build a slide, because sometimes we just have to use slides, okay? So, first off, let's change the big thing, which is bullets aren't for presentations, they're for guns. We're in Wyoming, folks. Bullets are for guns. It's just the way it is, all right? So, let's get rid of bullets. your best to get rid of bullets in our presentations. All right? So let's think, bullets are for guns, not for presentations. It's not all that easy, but you can do it, right? It is possible. As you can see, I already had 4 bullets in my presentation about not having bullets. Okay, so it is actually kind of tough, right? So let's break down a few barriers. First things first, we've got to think about those 3 questions. What do we want to do with every presentation? We've been talking about presentations are about persuading, presentations are about educating, and presentations are about setting ourselves apart. And to do that, I think there are 3 things you have to ask when you're thinking about your presentation as a whole, and when you're thinking about those individual elements, whether that be a slide, or whether that be some sort of a prop, that you have to think about. The first question that we have to think about is, what's my point? What do I want to get across to the audience? What do I want them to do? Do I want them to take action? Do I want them to just think about something? Do I want to educate them? What is it that I want to accomplish with that presentation, with that slide, with that prop, whatever it might be? What is my point? First question, and it's a big one. Think about some of the presentations you've done and some of the pages and the slides that you've used. Do they have a point? Do they have one point, one central theme to get across? The next thing you need to think about is, who is my audience? The key word here is who. Most presentations are designed for computers or robots. And I'm almost positive you haven't given too many presentations to robots yet. Okay? Our kids will probably have to do that. But for us today, we're presenting to humans. Who? Not what. Who? And here's the cool thing about humans. As much as engineers like to think we're Spock, we make all our decisions based on logic, nobody in here is Spock. And if you are, don't use the dope Vulcan neck pinch on me. I'll keep it short. We are not ruled by as much logic as we think. So when we see 3 bullet points on a slide, they're not that impactful. But when we see imagery on a slide, or when we have something that evokes an emotion, it sticks with us because we're humans. We make decisions based on emotion and we justify it with logic. It's just the way we are. It's just how it works. Okay? So remember that your audience is humans, and then you can break it into the subgroups. An audience of engineers today, maybe my message is going to be a little different than if I were talking to the business folks. Okay? That's okay. But just remember, we are talking to humans. And then finally, the final question that we need to ask is, how can I communicate effectively? What technique should I actually use to do this most effectively? How can I get my point across to some people effectively? If you ask those 3 questions anytime you're doing a presentation, anytime you're building a slide, even when you're just talking to someone in the hallway, if you can think through that, you're going to be much more effective. Okay? So, the first thing I want to do now is take a look at some of the myths that we encounter and some of the reasons that we all say we use PowerPoint and bullets. Right? So we have all these justifications. That's what we do as humans. We justify things. Right? And so to justify our behavior, we have a few myths. And myth 1 is, bullets help the audience remember. If I don't lay it out there and they can't read it, they'll never remember it. I'm not sure about that. In fact, it's not even that I'm not sure about it. It's that there was an experiment done at the turn of the, let's see, 20th century, the early 1900s. A gentleman by the name of Hermann Ebbinghaus did an experiment, and he created what is called the forgetting curve. And it was basically to find out how much humans remembered over time. Here's what he found out. We don't remember much. Okay? So he gave individuals lists of 3-letter words. Pretty easy, right? Pretty easy to remember some 3-letter words. They're just a list of words. Super easy to do. And here's what he found, is that you might have immediate recall right then, right? Give them a list of 5 words, they're going to remember it immediately. But pretty sharp, right? And thank goodness for asymptotic behavior. Right? Everyone's like, yeah. Woo. Good thing, right? Well, let's just take a look at this curve in the context of 3 bullet points. Before 19 minutes, somebody has forgotten your first bullet. Maybe the middle bullet, okay? It's like the screwed up middle bullet. Because you remember the first one and the third one, and that was actually one of the findings, but you don't remember that middle one, okay? So somebody, in less than 20 minutes, has forgotten your middle bullet. Those of you with 3 kids know what I'm talking about. Okay, 20 minutes. You got 20 minutes. Hopefully you've motivated them to do something within that amount of time. All right, so at the end of the day, they have forgotten 2 bullets. Right? Gone. By the time they leave work on Friday, chances are pretty good they remember a little piece of one of your bullets. Okay? Humans have forgotten all the way down to about 25% at the end of 6 days. And that's just a list of 3 words, 3-letter words, small words. Imagine if you're packing in these super bullets, which I've seen. They're awesome. They're awesome bullets. They're more like missiles, really. It's like a War and Peace up there on a PowerPoint slide. It's great. Right? So how can we improve that? How can we make that better so that people do remember it? Well, let's just take a moment, a brief moment, because this is disturbing, a brief moment and think about David's first slide, right? Yikes. I'm not going to ever forget that. In fact, I was reaching for the correct safety goggles to put that slide. I'm not even sure what they were, but I wanted to figure it out. Because nobody wants to see that, okay? So, the right image is worth 1,000 bullets. So, myth 1, I think it's busted. Okay? Bullets don't help people remember. In fact, if you think about the beginning of the speech with David's eyeball, it's just not as impactful as if he had put, it's so much more impactful than if he had put 3 bullets up there. The picture of Martin Luther King Jr. hopefully was more impactful to you than the 3 bullets that you've already forgotten one of, right? And it won't be long before you forget the other ones. So, using an image to tie that together, it's going to prove a point, it's going to make something happen. Now, myth 2. This is one of my favorites. As an engineer, and believe me, I was never really an engineer, I just got the degree. Partial credit, magical thing. Okay. My info is too technical. Gotta have a lot of info on the slides. It's too technical. People will not understand unless I spell it out for them. All right, well, we're gonna actually cover 2 myths here. The first one here, we'll just jump in. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about transmissibility, which is a concept from mechanical vibrations. Something I learned about in about 1997, okay? So my senior year in college, took a class, barely squeaked by a class in mechanical vibrations, and we learned about the concept of transmissibility. So because it's so technical, I'm gonna use these bullets to show you, okay? Super. So maybe I should get the pointer. It describes the response of a vibration isolation system for all those who can't read, or who just enjoy that time in 3rd grade when you had the librarians read to you. Don't you love that part? Isn't that the best? Why don't we do that anymore? Somebody gets a little book out or a PowerPoint slide and reads it to you. At least those books were illustrated. Okay, transmissibility varies with frequency. Another great concept. Remember that one. Okay. Whoa, hey, pay attention here. I know you're like, dude, I'm totally remembering that 3rd point. It flew in there. Spiraled in. Okay, which brings us to sub-myth number 1. Animations are cool. Busted. Animations are really not that cool, especially the ones that PowerPoint puts in there for you. Okay, it's not their fault. It's your fault for using them. Nothing screams rookie like a sliding image. Okay? Sorry. Nobody here does that, but your colleagues do, and you can laugh at it later. Okay? Now, here's another one. Oh, before we do that, this one was really cool because it says disastrous resonance. How awesome is that? Right? You're going to remember that. It occurs when the frequency, the input frequency, equals the natural frequency. Everybody remember that? Okay, you got it? Good. And as input frequency increases past natural frequency, transmissibility approaches 0, asymptotically, of course. Somebody says, you can't put asymptotically into your presentation twice. And I said, watch me. And finally, as the semester wore on, my grade also approached 0. But I made it. Okay, luckily the semester was short. Didn't quite get there. All right? So, this is actually what I was describing. Obviously, in your head, that's what came out with those bullets, right? You're like, let me just draw that graph for you real quick, Josh. Oh, so much better. I get it, right? Still pretty technical, still pretty crazy. Luckily, my vibrations teacher was a great presenter. He didn't use this graph. He didn't use bullets. What he used was a cool story. He used the story of the washboard and driving along a washboardy road, because that's exactly what transmissibility can be related to, so that we can all understand it. How many times have you been driving down the road and you're driving slow on the washboards and you feel every one of them, right? And if it's a 2-inch washboard, you kind of feel it about 2 inches. That's what that graph is saying. When you're driving really slow, feeling every washboard. And then as you speed up a little bit, your car shakes violently. Disastrous resonance, right? And then if you keep on cruising and you keep on that accelerator, what happens? Oh, it's like glass. It's magic, right? All of a sudden you're doing 50, but you know what? You're not feeling any of those washboards. Okay? Now, he used a story to illustrate that. He told us about what it's like to drive on a washboardy road, because we'd all driven. We're from Wyoming. We've driven on a washboardy road. We know what that's like. So he told us a story that was really good. Look, I'll jump back to this slide. It totally describes this exactly. Moving slow, moving a little faster, holy mackerel, disastrous resonance. That's it, right? Now, here's the thing. He used that story and he did a great job, because he was a really smart person. I used that story to try to convince my wife that we should drive faster on the washboards, and it doesn't work. But we do hang out on that other side of the curve, where we kind of go over each car. Okay?
Are you saying your wife isn't smart?
No, I'm saying that I'm not a good enough presenter. Trust me, I would never say that. I do appreciate the interaction. That was great. And the point of clarity that my wife is really smart, I'm a poor presenter. Okay? Dodge that bullet. That's 5 bullets. All right, so what do you think? Busted?
Busted.
I think so. I think it's busted. Okay? Ooh, this myth has some staying power. This myth just might stand. What do you think? Is PowerPoint your crutch? Maybe, probably. That's why we read the bullets, right? That's why we read it to folks. Because it's our crutch. This one doesn't have to stand, though, for 2 reasons. First of all, there's this magical little thing called presenter view in PowerPoint. And if you haven't used it yet, you should. It's great. I'm using it right now. It's like your own little personal teleprompter. You feel a little like Katie Couric. I mean, I don't feel like Katie Couric. But you can use PowerPoint's presenter view to help you along. This is what your audience sees. This is what you see. So you know what's coming up next. You kind of have an idea of what you're going to say. Your audience doesn't know. Ooh, kind of just open the curtains on that one. Right? This is much better than actually reading your slides. Okay? If you look down at your monitor every once in a while and you see that, it's better than reading from your slides. Okay? So this will help us. This can be our crutch rather than the slide itself that's intended for the audience. Now, here's the other thing. I also feel like we should rehearse. I know it sounds crazy, and you may not rehearse much when you do a presentation that's bullet written, because it's right there. I don't really need to rehearse, I just have to go through the slides and tell people what those slides say. Okay. But if you're doing it effectively and you're working on becoming better at your craft, you've got to rehearse. You've got to take the time to run through it. I say run through it sitting at your desk, the PowerPoint slides, run through it in the mirror, run through it for an audience and get feedback, video yourself and do a little self-critique. How many people have videoed their presentation and watched it back? Okay, videoed it is one thing, watched it back. Harder, okay, sweet. All right, gentleman in the back, that's cool, right? That takes a lot of guts. A lot of guts. Those are times when you're going to find out the little things that you might do that you didn't even know you did.
You need to watch where your hands are at.
Nope. See? Like this. Like this. Or if you're pointing a lot, I found that pointing a lot is distracting to the audience. So I don't do it as much. Yeah, it's crazy. You just walk around like this.
Don't put your hands in your pocket and handle your keys and your change. You know?
Yeah, that's right. That's why I took the keys and the change out. Change? If you rehearse and you rehearse correctly, you won't need to use PowerPoint as a crutch. And sometimes people are saying, well, you know what, I just don't have time to do it. Wait, we said that presentations and presenting are such a good opportunity. So if there's such a great opportunity to set ourselves apart, to help our company make money, to help us increase the potential of our career, how come we're not taking the time? You're right, nobody has enough time, but we all have the same amount of time. It's about 24 hours a day, okay? So we get to sleep a little less the night before, right? Probably not gonna sleep much anyway. I think that one's busted too, what do you think? Okay. This one's kind of similar to the technical piece, but bullets help me present a lot of information, right? I was like, well, I've got to fit all these pieces in. The panel's going to want to see this information. I need to have it in my slides, because if I don't have it, then they're going to think that I didn't present it. And if it's not in my slides, what will happen, right? First of all, I'll probably forget it. It's kind of my crutch. Second of all, they're not going to get all of that information. Okay, got to have it. Got a lot of information. I need to pack it all in one slide. All right, well, how about this slide? This is the spaghetti slide. It's kind of popular now. And this one has a little bit of information, right? And so when you pack a lot of information, whether it be in the form of bullets or a graphic like this, what happens? Everybody in the room is looking at a different spot. Okay, I'm talking about one spot. Everybody in the room is looking or thinking about something else. Some people are just thinking, I'm really hungry and that spaghetti looks good. I'm focused on the meatball in the top right corner. Right? Who knows where everybody else is thinking? So here's a magical little tool called the magnifier that is used to break out a portion of the slide. Showing the whole big picture of a complex system can be really powerful. But when you're talking about that system, you've got to focus in on something small, something that everybody in the room is looking at. And for a brief moment, I had everybody looking at this section. Okay? And that's good enough. It focuses your attention. So, use of the magnifier is pretty cool. It's actually not that hard to do, either in PowerPoint. It's pretty easy to do. Okay? You make a copy of an image, crop it down a little bit, draw a box around it, voila. Right? Not too tough. Now, the next thing we might do is we might see a case where we've got a big system to show, and we want to start the opposite. So rather than showing the big system and focusing on one spot, we might want to let the system build from the start. So this is a slide that I put together to demonstrate and to talk about a webinar service, like GoToMeeting, WebEx, something like that. And we help our clients perform webinars. So one of the things that we talked about was, okay, in the middle, there's a webinar service. You can use GoToMeeting, you can use WebEx, whatever you want to use. Okay? And then what happens is the presenter connects remotely from their own computer, wherever it might be in the world. If you're in China, your presenter's in Europe, that's cool. No sweat. They can present from anywhere in the world. They just connect to this webinar service. And you as the moderator might connect as well. Now, the cool thing about this is the moderator and the presenter, they can talk together, nobody hears them, doesn't matter. They can all be separate and have their own conversations. And then you have all these prospects on the other side watching your webinar from wherever they might be in the world, and they're connected on the other side. Okay? So rather than putting this image up at the very beginning and trying to talk through it, you can let it build naturally. This is a good way to take something this isn't incredibly complex. I'm pretty sure everybody in the room could have handled it, but I kind of needed it to build just for my own crutch situation. But the point is, you can use this effectively to let something grow and let people understand the big picture by starting out small. Okay? Now, here's another way to include a lot of information. It's really simple. Use multiple slides. It's really not that tough. You don't have to do 3 bullets per slide. If you really want to do some words on a slide, you can put some words on one slide, more words on yet another. PowerPoint doesn't have a limit to the number of slides you can use. In fact, you could use like 1,000,000 slides. In fact, that's a great way to tell your audience, hey, go ahead and get comfortable, grab a Snickers bar, you're going to be here a while, you've got 1,000,000 slides. Yeah, everybody loves that. Okay? So, packing a lot of stuff in on one slide, maybe not the best way to do it. So, that one's busted too. This is my personal favorite myth. It could. It actually could. The first few times that you don't use bullets, your head could explode, right? There is a bit of danger here. But it won't. It actually won't. In fact, it will be so much better, right? And there are other tools out there that you can use besides PowerPoint. One of them that's kind of popular today is called Prezi, all right? It's this cool little presentation software. It combines PowerPoint with one of those magic motion rides. Has anybody ever been on one where you sit in a seat and you kind of fly around and you're in a museum or whatever, you feel like you're moving? It's the screen and the seat moving a little bit. That's kind of what Prezi is. Okay? So people who are pregnant or are prone to motion sickness can't watch those without their doctor's permission. Okay? So that's kind of what you got to be careful. Actually, Prezi is just a tool. It's just a tool just like PowerPoint is a tool. And the intent of Prezi is really cool. It's a little different than PowerPoint. And so that's what makes it cool right now. Except that guess what? Prezi, if used incorrectly, is just like those animations that I showed you a few slides back. If you use it incorrectly, it's just a boring, kind of nauseating way to watch a presentation. Right? The presentation still has to be good. Things still have to be impactful. If you fly around a bunch of bullets, that's not going to really do anything. Right? So it's just a tool. You've got to use these rules still with Prezi. All right? Here is a crazy concept. Don't use PowerPoint. Have a conversation. What would happen if we turned off the computer for a moment and had a conversation with somebody? Yeah, your head might explode with that. That's not good. Okay. What if you went to a coffee shop, had some scones? Right? Just a conversation over coffee and scones. What if you did that? Sometimes PowerPoint takes away from the effectiveness that we can have by just having a conversation, just having that interaction. Now, with a group of 30 people or so, it's a little more difficult. Okay, I've had a couple conversations, they were super good, but it's not the same. Okay? And if you're going to present to your team, to a couple folks, sometimes PowerPoint isn't the best way. Sometimes some regular old props or huddling around the whiteboard can be super effective. So it's okay to turn off PowerPoint and just have a conversation. It's okay to have a brainstorming session without the bullets. Okay? Now, what if you just have to have bullets? What if you just have to? You're like, look, I've got to get this out there. It's the only way to do it. The only way. I've explored every other option. Tried the magnifier, not going to work. Okay? Tried a crazy image, couldn't find one. Well, sometimes you could be a little more creative with those bullets. All right? And so here's an example that I use a lot when I'm talking to people about how our company promotes their services to our audience. Well, the first thing I do is I put somebody up there, a model with a bullhorn, so that you can get the idea that we're going to shout it out to the world. Right? I could have said, how we promote, and had 8 little bullets there. Because, hey, if 3 bullets are good, 8, whoa. Is that 2 2/3 better? Right? So instead I said, okay, we're going to promote your company in the following ways. And then I might bring them in one by one, probably not, because the point is, I don't necessarily want you to remember all of those little pieces. I want you to focus on the things that you care about the most, and I want you to see that there are a whole bunch of things that we do. And I want you to remember that we are going to be the ones that promote it out there. Some other people are going to put bullets on a slide. We're the company that's going to put it out there to our audience really loud. People are going to get it. Okay? So that's a different way. This isn't that far from a bullet slide. It's really not. But hopefully the effect is better. Okay? So it can happen. So, maybe, maybe not, I think it's busted. It's 6. Well, let's make it easier. This one's gonna stick, right? We said at the beginning, all I have to do is type in some stuff, click here and there, voila, presentation. First blush, it seems like bullets might make it easier, right? But then, at the last minute, you've got to make some changes to your presentation. And so you rush in there and you add another bullet, because remember, 3 are good, 4 better. So you go in there and you type in that 4th bullet. And then you go give the presentation, and then you see that I have a spelling error in the 4th bullet. Because I didn't take it through the review. I'm never going to do that again. Of course I'm going to still add bullets, but I'm never, ever going to not have it spell checked by somebody else. Well, what does that do? It increases the time it takes you to do a presentation. It includes more resources now to do that same presentation with bullets. Now, if you were just using the notes view and just type that in for your own note, you can spell things however you want, however you should. You hooked on phonics, it doesn't even matter. Okay? So, is it easier and taking less time to go out and find a cool image and then type notes on your own? So that's one side. Practically, I'm not sure it's actually easier. You've got to send it over to David, he's got to review it, then he's got to send it to somebody else for fact checking. Crazy. Lots of time. Or spelling errors happens too. But here's the other thing that bothers me about this myth. Taking the easy way out, is that what we're going for? That's what we're going to go into our review at the end of the year. Yeah, so I had a lot of presentations this year. I just took the easy way out, did some bullets. Super cool, super effective. Maybe not that effective, but I took the easy way out. I just want you to know I made it easy on me. Okay? So, when you're thinking about, should I get a raise, should I get a promotion, just remember, I took the easy way out. I mean, we're professionals, right? We want to continuously improve so that we can get that promotion, so that we can get that new business, so that we can help our companies. Taking the easy way out isn't the way to do it. So whether it practically is easier or practically is, it doesn't matter. We've got to continually improve and say, I'm going to do a little bit of hard work. And what you're going to find is the first couple times, it's really tough. And then after that, it's not tough. In fact, it's way easier to be creative. Okay? And you can go into your review and say, I knocked presentations out the park. People remember that stuff, which is always a lot better conversation to have than I took these away. So I think that one's busted. Now, here's kind of the final myth, that being different is bad. Right? Well, 3 of the companies that presented all had bullet-ridden slides. Do we really want to be that 4th company that doesn't have a single bullet on our slide? What will happen? Right? This is bad. We don't want to be different. What if we don't get the job because that presentation was different? Okay? So what it is, it's a fear. It's just like the fear of public speaking, which you have already. So why not do something a little bit different? You've already got a little fear. What's a little more? Right? It's just public speaking. People fear that more than death. So you have a little fear, like doing something different. It's a drop in the bucket. We're afraid to be different. When in reality, if we're different, people remember it. If it's not the same old presentation, people will remember it. The bullet piece and the forgetting curve, guess what? The other 3 presentations in front of the panel, people who are going to decide whether you get that business or not, they don't even remember who gave the presentation, what those bullets were, or, hey, they're confusing Company A with Company B's bullets because there's just a lot of bullets. It's hard to keep them organized, right? Trihydro swoops in there, and they're different. They've got all the technical information, they've got the capabilities, but they were different. They told a story. They showed us images. They were super impactful. I will never forget that presentation. That's a lot better, okay? Being different isn't bad. Humans, deep down in like the reptilian core of our being, are trained to see differences, okay? It's what kept us alive on the plains and in the jungle. Differences. All the same stuff, it's all vanilla. We see the differences. It's just what we do. We're super good at it, and we remember the differences, which is really important. So if we can remember the differences and we can help our audience see those differences, we're ahead of the pack. Right? That's what we want to do. So the challenge is to take some of these tools and your own creativity, because trust me, 30 brains in here have creativity way beyond anything that I can touch. You just got to let it happen. And you can't be afraid of being different. In fact, you want to embrace it. The more different you are, the better off you are. And at first it's going to be a little tough, but it's better than being the same. Okay? So, what we're going to do now is, well, Kurt's going to bust that in. But what we're going to do now is we're going to break out into some different groups. And David's got, you want to take a break first?
Yeah, let's take 5.
Let's take 5.
And let's try to make it back within 5. Then what we'll do is separate into groups, and we're going to do some workshop activities. Let's give Josh a round of applause though. All right, 5 minutes. We'll come back, we'll have the group set up, and send you on your way.
You're not hilarious.
We're scrapping everything for
Recording.